Maximum security worries at the ACI.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So I was wondering last week why it's necessary for the Correctional Officers Union to do a campaign to make a point about something which seems to me to be very operational in nature. We have a budget item that is about renovating the maximum security part of the ACI, and the way they're going about it has the correctional officers pretty concerned, so much so that they're spending their own union dues to say, hey, 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 and to put an ad campaign out there and everything else. And, you know, when they do that, they don't mince any words. We'll talk to the head of the Correctional Officers Union about this coming up in just a couple of minutes. Great to have you aboard. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening. Border worries. Trump is now threatening to close the border, and it's not a threat. Let's check in.
The president will do everything he can. If closing the ports of entry mean that, that's exactly what he intends to do.
The president's aides argued Sunday the move may be necessary as Border Patrol officials deal with an influx of migrants, many coming as families before the hot summer months. Last month, more than 75,000 people were apprehended, the highest in over a decade. In a letter to Congress, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen called the surge of migrant arrivals a dire situation and said the agency is facing a system-wide meltdown.
There's a very good likelihood that I'll be closing the border next week, and that'll be just fine with me.
President Trump blamed Mexico and other Central American countries Friday for not stopping caravans of migrants moving toward the U.S. border. And on Saturday, the State Department cut off U.S. aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. A decision Democrats warned could worsen the humanitarian crisis.
President's cutting off aid to these countries will not solve that problem.
Back at the border, there are concerns a shutdown could hurt businesses and consumers in the U.S.
Many people from Mexico come here to buy things they need.
Trade between Mexico and Texas here along the El Paso border crossing alone totaled more than $80 billion last year, and thousands cross every day just to go to work.
You know, I don't know what is going to cause us to have a comprehensive conversation on immigration and border security. We've never been more broken. And, you know, threats to shut down the ports of entry, you know, you think, well, let me not say you, a lot of people in America think that closing down the border means some kind of, you know, military action up and down 2,000 miles worth of border. It's not that. It's not that. The economic impacts of this are very real, detrimental for us. I understand his point, but there's just no ability between the White House and Democrats in Washington to sit down and say, look, we got to figure this whole thing out. It's just going to be government shutdowns, threats, and I don't know when it's going to stop. If you do, give me an email or send me call me on the radio show. It's just the most dysfunctional situation we've had in this country, and it's coming to a dysfunctional head, but there's no solution along with it. Coming back here to home, we've got a new chairman of the state Republican Party. Sue Cienki won that election. She didn't get a majority in the first ballot, but she got a plurality, and then the candidates folded in behind her, including Rebecca Schiff, who was the choice for Alan Fung. Based on the results, Alan Fung's wife left the party. Ms. Fenton says she no longer wants to be part of the party. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess that's the only way you make some news, by leaving. You want to talk about dysfunction in the phone booth in Rhode Island? The state Republican Party. But Ms. Cienki's got a little skip in her step, and she's got a very interesting story. She is the former chairman or president of the town council in East Greenwich, which was washed out by a coup of sorts. We'll see if she's got the right stuff. We had her on the radio along with other candidates last week talking about whether they're smart enough to actually restructure the party such that they raise money in order to raise money. that they raise money in order to be able to fund an executive director who can then fund candidates. It's rubbing sticks together at the beginning, and all these people that like to be on the Central Committee, they got to have a budget. You know, like Girl Scout cookies? Like, if you want to be a Girl Scout, you got to go out there and sell a couple $100 worth of Girl Scout cookies. Well, if you want to be a member of the Central Committee of the Republican Party in Rhode Island, you got to go out there and raise $5,000 each. Just an idea. All righty. Last week, we had Lynn Singleton on the program. He is the director, the president of PPAC, and he's been asserting that a bill pending that would relieve the ticket companies of the caps on ticket resale, which are very low to them. He says it's no good, and in fact that the ticket agencies out there, many are committing fraud. I asked about some of the popular ones like StubHub. StubHub legit, yes or no?
In our case, we have issues with them on the tickets they sell because they're selling tickets that don't exist. I can only comment as far as regards to PPAC. StubHub had a Phantom ticket, mid to rear orchestra, for sale for $263. PPAC is selling that same ticket for $63. I will bet the ranch in Texas that I don't have, that StubHub doesn't have that ticket. All they're simply going to do, if they've deceived you to believe they are the official.
Once you commit, they'll go buy it.
Yeah, because what happens is once you give them your credit card, they've got you.
It's interesting. We really want to have some of these major ticket agencies on here to talk about the way they do business. We sent that to StubHub, and StubHub came back with a very lengthy response. Let me just read some of it. They transact with a protection, with a fan protect guarantee, award-winning customer service. Rarely does something go wrong. And when that happens, we're going to make sure we get your replacement ticket. They got a 24/7 trust and safety team that works diligently to mitigate fraud and protect customers. So their problems are well below 0.01%. It goes on. Mr. Singleton inferred that the StubHub platform engages in deceptive marketing tactics. We have not, do not engage in these practices. It's against our user policy for sellers on StubHub to list speculative tickets. All right, if we're made aware, we do what we can to stop it. And they love the bill, obviously, that's in the State House right now, put up by Representative Craven, because they think it modernizes the situation. What would be good is to get both parties here together at the same time and get a result. I'm not sure what they're saying. I'm not exactly sure how the whole StubHub thing works. Whether I give my tickets away and that is the only inventory they get, or whether they're selling tickets and then they come see me for the inventory. I'm not sure how that works. So there's a lot of gray area between these two organizations. Real quick, I think the final, the regional finals this weekend in basketball were probably the best 4 games we have seen, period. I mean, you want to talk about knockdown, dragged out, smash mouth basketball. We had it as the Elite 8 was, I think, the best I've ever seen. In the meantime, let us not forget what happens on the ice. PC, seated 4th in the region, having the advantage of being at home, upset Minnesota State. They were down 0-3, meaning, 3-0, and scored 6 goals in a row in the semifinal, and then won the regional final at home. Coach Lehman, very excited.
Did you know they had this in them all along, this level of play we've seen the last 2 days?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, we knew they had it, and it's about getting it out of them, and that's what coaching is. Again, it's so hard to get to this point. I'm just happy for them and to keep going, and we're one of 4 teams that gets to keep playing, so that's pretty special.
That is a special program they got there. I know we're all focused on Cooley and the basketball. The hockey is no second fiddle. Congratulations to them and good luck. All right, here's the headline on what we're discussing tonight. Correctional officers urge Raimondo to keep ACI's high security unit open. Well, that's probably a diplomatic headline. It's been more than encouraged. Richard Ferruccio is the longtime correctional officers president, the union president. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Give me just the executive summary on what you're bothered by, and then we'll dig into it in the next couple of segments.
Sure. I think we're bothered, one, how this proposal even came about. It was poorly thought out and really poorly presented to us. The closing of the hand. Their plan that's on the table right now is to close the facility. We don't know if they're going to renovate it, if they're going to build a new one. Nobody knows. But their plan that they've been selling to the General Assembly is to close the facility, ship some inmates out of state, ship the rest of the problematic inmates into max and at medium, and move on for upwards around 3 to 4 years. Not acceptable to us.
And you say it's dangerous?
Extremely dangerous.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about why. Stay with us. Here's the meat of the matter.
In harm's way by this.
A new radio ad and mailer from the Correctional Officers Union in Rhode Island takes aim at the governor.
Tell her to rescind this dangerous proposal, because if she doesn't, the blood will be on her hands.
The warning stems from the governor's budget proposal to renovate the high-security facility at the ACI for $60 million. The union president, Richard Ferruccio, says he's concerned if the plan is for it to be closed and house inmates elsewhere temporarily.
We can't afford to have the high security closed down for 3 days, never mind 3 years.
It may be that you don't have to, and we'll know a lot more as we go through the plans.
Thursday, the governor responded, saying they still haven't decided if they'll close the facility for the renovation.
The facility we have is very old, very inefficient, needs to be renovated, and it cost us almost $200,000 a year per inmate in that facility, which is 3 times what it is at similar facilities in nearby states.
The reason we're starting with high security is because it is the most expensive facility to run.
Patricia Coyne-Faig, the director of the Department of Corrections, echoed that and says nothing's a done deal yet.
Our priority, like the Brotherhood, is safety. And so I'm not interested in doing anything that's going to put anyone at risk.
But Ferruccio remains concerned.
They can say all they want that, well, we're just looking at options. That's not what was presented in the governor's budget. It was presented that it would be closed.
He says the ads will continue.
Yeah. The ads are necessary because...
Well, we need to sound the alarm, so to speak. That's what we're doing with the ads. If we didn't do this, this thing would be under the radar still to this day. I mean, it happened. The way it was planned in the first place, like I said, poorly thought out. I was called in the day before the governor's budget by the director to say, hey, I just want to let you know, tomorrow they're going to put this in the budget to close the high security center. We're going to ship inmates out of state and ship some other into max and into medium. And that took us totally by surprise. Obviously, it had been worked in the works.
What was your gut reaction when you were called? Did you immediately know that that was bad, or did you go back and think about it or with the rest of your brethren and say, wait a second?
Well, we thought it couldn't have been something good. Getting called the day before, she asked me to come to her office about 8 o'clock the day before the budget. We expected that it was going to be something. We didn't know what.
Yeah, but did you
not expect
when
this.
You were told that this was the plan, did you yourself know immediately that that was ill thought out?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Did you say that?
I did. I told the director then that this is you can't do it. That'd be a huge mistake. But I think what people don't understand is that in the 1970s, our prison system was one of the worst prison systems in the country. It was dangerous. It was out of control. The correctional officers fought to get the tools to do the job, and that when I talk about tools for the job. Run this show, you're going to have the right tools. So high security is a tool. It was a tool that was implemented by the Department of Corrections and used by the correctional officers to get control of our prison system. Right now, I think we have one of the better run prison systems in the entire country. And for them to come in here and to try and tell us that it costs too much money, it's all hyperbole. Some of the information that's being put out is misinformation. The governor's only reiterating what she has been told. She said the facilities doesn't have a good line of sight. It's too costly, almost $200,000 per inmate. Those numbers have been all over the place.
Where's the director? Where's Patricia Coyne-Faig in your mind on this? Is this something that she had a role in helping the administration plan, or is she too just getting it served to her and she's caught between a rock and a hard place?
I think she's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place in the sense I think her administration proposed it. What happens during budget, but we have a really bad budget coming up. All the departments have been told, hey, we need some savings. So the years past, Director Wall has pitched, well, close high security would save you some significant money. But even AT Wall would say no.
Closing high security, we can't get out of the high security business. So how do you close high security?
Well, they would physically shutter the building and move the inmates elsewhere. So we would be technically out of the high security business until our department in the state of Rhode Island decided to build a new one. You know, there's a need. I mean, they've acknowledged.
What's the
there's a need.
cost in distributing, and what is the marketplace for distribution of how many high security inmates do you have right now, do you think?
As of today, there's 92 inmates there this morning.
So if you disperse 92 inmates tomorrow, are there other facilities that are more than willing to take them?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We through the interstate compact, we've shipped inmates out, problematic inmates that have caused us some trouble. We've shipped them and traded them with other states. Basically, how it works. Last year, we traded an inmate to another state, went to New Mexico. We got a guy back from New Mexico that actually started a riot there. He was the leader of a prison riot. He came into the Rhode Island prison system. The guy we shipped out to New Mexico murdered somebody over there, another inmate. So we're always doing this trading. We just shipped out a guy, same thing to New Mexico, about a month and a half ago. They've already called and said, come get him.
I don't think the general public has any idea that this goes on, that there's inmate trading that goes on. And all the correctional facilities in the country do so?
They do so, yes. They participate in it.
But if you have a displacement challenge, that's different.
Exactly. What they're talking about right now
I mean, you can't send 92 people out and promise 92, what, in 2022 or whatever. No. That's not happening.
What they're looking at right now is to try and find a home for at least 50 of them, because they don't think they can get all 92, and pay to ship them out. So they'll pay another state that was willing to take a high security inmate. The problem that we have is that
is there fertile space for other states to be paid? I mean, inmate populations are on the high security level. Are they up or are they down in general?
I think they're probably about the same. I think as they've been all along. But the problem that you're going to have is most states aren't going to want to take these people. That's not the issue. That's even our concern.
Did you ever have a strategy session when are you saying that the new director? Did she put this idea on the table for the administration?
Oh, she did.
She
yes,
did.
She did.
Did she meet with you to talk about that?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That never happened. And like I said to you before, our previous director, A.T. Wall, would pitch it, but A.T. Wall would always publicly state, "This is a proposal. I wouldn't do it." We didn't hear that from this director right now. Trish Coyne-Fague is looking at it as you know, the governor's her boss, and saying, "Hey, this is going to move forward." I think Trish has some serious concerns about it. I can tell you, her management team, in my opinion, everyone I've talked to does not support this. And that's what's frustrating about it. Mike DeBiase and Jonathan Wormer. Mike DeBiase is director of administration.
Right, and Wormer's the budget director.
He's the budget director. They've talked to the management team at the Department of Corrections. They came and toured the high security center. They heard it from the warden of the facility. They heard it from the captains and the lieutenants that work there in the offices. And they've heard it from us that if you do this, if you close this facility, you take this very important tool away, somebody's probably going to get seriously hurt or killed. And they're still moving forward with it. That's what's frustrating. So they've heard it from the people that know how to run a prison, the people that have been running the prison for 25, 30 years. They've heard it from us, from the union, and they're still moving forward with this proposal.
What does the union say now, and what would it have said if asked at the beginning of this when we come back? Stay with us. All right, so if I'm the director of the ACI and I'm looking, and there's conversations going on, and I got to save some money, and you know, the newer facility, which is the higher risk facility, which is from the 80s, right? I mean, the whole damn building is as old as what? I mean,
it came online in 1981.
Yeah. Well, the high risk did.
The high security center came online in 1981.
High security.
Yep.
But the building itself, I mean, the whole facility.
The complex?
Yeah, the complex is.
It's ancient.
Yeah, ancient. And you were telling me on the radio that some of the ancient places are actually are more in need of renovation right now than the high risk facility is. Correct?
We have we're right now on walking a very dangerous line. Some of our facilities are falling apart. For the last 20 years, when there was an opportunity to do necessary precautionary maintenance, preventative maintenance, it wasn't done. We're paying a price for that right now. Our minimum security is
across the board.
Really tough shape. Really
schools, the whole thing. We've had that problem. Okay, but if I'm the director, I say, Rich, listen, thinking about this, thinking about shipping out some inmates. You go, what? You know, that doesn't make any sense. And I say, well, what's your idea? Your idea would be, if I heard you right on the radio, you would want to do what they did at Giant Stadium or Gillette Stadium. The old Sullivan Stadium stood over here. You built the new stadium, and when the new stadium was right, you shut it down. That's what you would suggest. And there's You think there's enough land there on the complex that could be done?
Exactly. Actually, when she told me, the day she called me in before the budget, and she told me the plan was to close
She being the director?
The director, to close the facility down. I told her, why would we do that? We can build whatever we want in the yard next to the high security, right next to it. Attach it, move the inmates in, and we can use the current high security for another type of populations. We have an aging population up there of inmates, geriatric.
Well, so you wouldn't even recommend tearing it down. You would recommend renovating it.
I think we can use it. It's not in that bad of shape that they're talking about.
Well, does it all conform to the kind of budget goals that we're looking at? Do you have a price tag on the idea that you have?
I don't. If building it for $66 million or $70 million is what it's going to cost, then wherever you put it is irrelevant. If you drop it in the yard and attach it, it's not going to cost them that much more. For us, our concern is to lose that tool. Last year during Correctional Officers Week, we have
to lose the high security.
High security
tool.
as a tool. During the first full week of May, it's National Correctional Officers Week. We recognize it. We had a correctional officer stabbed by John Carrillo. John Carrillo killed a correctional officer in 1973. He was at maximum security, which that calls into question whether he should have been there, but he tried to stab a correctional officer. We moved John Carrillo and the other two inmates, I might add, that provided him the weapon to do the stabbing to the high security center. If we didn't have high security, where would we put John Carrillo? What would we do with John Carrillo or the next John Carrillo? We have gang fights that happen all the time. We have a gang fight at maximum security. We need to start to separate these people. See, what happens in other states, they have multiple maximum security facilities. We don't. We have one maximum security facility, one medium security facility. We don't have the ability to separate these people that have that kind of enemy issues.
Right, so it's 40 or 50 out of the 90 in high security right now shipped out, and then spread the rest back into the medium and general population. You're worried about that too?
I'm worried about that too. That population, extremely volatile. As I stated to you earlier, one of them that was shipped out to New Mexico murdered another inmate while he was out there. That's the type of population we're talking about. And for the information that's being put out is wrong. It's inaccurate.
So the blood on the hands in the ad, in layman's terms, means what?
It means somebody will be killed. We do believe this will be a loss of life situation. That's what this will generate. And if somebody's killed, we want to make sure that we're able to. It's probably going to be an inmate. It's probably going to be another inmate. More than likely, that's what it'll be. But it could be a staff member very easily. We did have a correctional officer murdered here in '73. We don't want to see that happen again. And
all right. Well, the noise you're making here requires follow-up. I'm sure that you would share the set with anybody who wants to talk about it. We'll try to bring the director in and see what her point of view is on this whole thing. And you know, the ed campaign certainly has caused people to pay attention to it. So maybe that's exactly what you're looking for. Richard, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Richard Ferruccio, the president of the Correctional Officers Union. When we come back, a final word. Stay with us. You speak of dysfunction. How in heaven's name does this happen? That the correctional officers, listen, sometimes employees don't like the way things are going. But if you don't have a bottom-up process by which you consult correctional officers about the strategies involved in moving prisoners, what's missing here? We are desperate to get the director in this week and see if we can make some sense of all of this. Because right now, it doesn't make any sense at all. You have a great night. We'll see you on the radio as well at 3 tomorrow on WPRO. Thanks for tuning in.